A professor comes to class one day, begins his lecture, and suddenly he notices that one of his students has fallen asleep. You know, it happens. So he calls the student who was sitting right next to the sleeping beauty, and he says, excuse me, do you mind waking up your friend? So the student says to the professor, Professor, with all due respect, you put him to sleep, you wake him up. But you know, I promise I won't wake you up. You can sleep away. Why? Because sleep is very important for happiness. There's a lot of research on sleep showing that it's a very sound investment. You know, what's an investment? Investment is losing something, giving something up for the sake of greater returns in the future. Yes, when we sleep, we're not getting things done. However, it's a good investment because we can get a lot more done afterwards. Think about a racing car going around the track again and again. It has to take a pit stop at some point. Now, when it takes the pit stop, it's stopping. That's why they call it pit stop. It's stopping. Other cars take over. But it's still doing it. Why? Because if the car didn't take the pit stop, the tires would blow up or it would run out of fuel. In the same way, human beings, we need the sleep. It's a good investment so that we continue to go at full speed, at maximum happiness. It significantly increases our psychological well-being. In fact, sleep provides us, or enables, rather, the internal healer. You know that, in general, on average, the earlier dreams at night are more negative than the later dreams that are actually more positive. It doesn't mean that we can't have a nightmare just before we wake up in the morning, but on average, in general, the earlier dreams are more negative, later dreams are more positive. Why? Because what we do during sleep is we resolve conflicts. We have a conflict at the beginning of the night that we went to sleep with, and over time, that conflict is resolved. People who don't sleep enough are much more susceptible to anxiety, much more susceptible to depression. You know, when a baby doesn't sleep or when a young child doesn't sleep, they become cranky. So do we as adults. We may be able to hide it better, but we still experience it. Sleep is a good investment when it comes to our psychological well-being. Memory and creativity improve significantly. It's no coincidence that we very often wake up in the morning with a solution to the problem we went to sleep with, because our mind, our subconscious mind, is working. Just like it solves conflicts, it also solves mathematical problems that we go to sleep with, or work problems, or relationship issues. We also remember a lot better after a good night's sleep. That's when the neural pathways are formed, are fortified. That's when our memory shifts from short-term to long-term memory. But it doesn't happen if we don't get enough sleep. What's enough sleep? Ideally between 7 to 9 hours. It varies. Different people need different amounts. Ideally biphasic, meaning one long stretch at night and then a shorter nap in the afternoon, a Schlafstunde. Okay, yes, I know. It's not realistic for most people to take a nap. Not realistic. However, if you can afford it, do it. Even if you do it once or twice a week, over the weekend, it makes a big difference. You know who was the biggest proponent, the biggest champion of naps in history? Winston Churchill. Winston Churchill, in his autobiography, writes that if he didn't take a nap daily during the war, he would not have survived the war. Now, if Winston Churchill could afford an hour, I think we can too. And you know what? If you don't have an hour, it's been shown that 18 minutes nap can go a long way in resetting our cognitive functioning. 18 minutes, we can afford. I have a friend who is the CEO of one of the largest hospitals. And what he said is, after reading the research on sleep and naps, he closes his door and takes a nap every day at work. But as I said, even if you can't afford daily nap, even once or twice a week can make a difference.